So I figured today we'd talk a little bit about survival knives. You want to get some hate on the internet, give your opinion on knives, welding, or guns, and everybody is gonna stand in line to tell you how you're wrong. But anyway, let's discuss some of my thoughts on it, the reasoning behind my thoughts on it, and most importantly, why your choice of knife probably doesn't matter near as much as you think it does anyway. I will have some Amazon links below for a couple of these. We'll make like 2 pennies if you purchase, and we get credit whether you buy something that's in our link or not. But anyway, let's get started and break some of this down. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm a bit of a snob when it comes to knives. I have spent incredibly too much money on knives in the past, and well, if I'm just being honest, we moved about a year ago, and these are the only ones that I have out. None of the rest have been even unpacked. But I'll show you what I kind of, treat as my survival knives. Your basic stuff, man. You want your follow the rules of the internet. You'll have to have the full tang and the absolutely square, spine. You want it to be 5.5 inches or whatever, and with camouflage and MOLLE compatible, and you got your included sharpening stone and ultra 3/16 thickness and all of that other stuff. And this knife, and maybe not perfect, kind of fits that particular description, right? This is just it's like a Beker K-bar, Beker, what is that? Yeah, the BK10, or I don't know, BK something. And I dug this knife out because this is normally kind of along the lines of what people are talking about when they're talking about a survival knife. The knife that can be the axe and, take down Apache helicopters and whatever. Anyway, not the best example, but it's the one that I was able to find. So what do I actually use? Well, if you follow Dave Canterbury, he's going to tell you to get one of these old hickories, which these are a pretty good knife, actually, believe it or not, and they're cheap, like 20 bucks. We'll get you one, and those work just fine. But what about the mora? Everybody likes the moras, and I'll be honest with you, as far as fixed blade knives go, this is my favorite one. This one gets used a lot. It doesn't weigh a ton. I carry it with me every day. If I drop it on the gravel driveway, I don't really care. It's not that big a deal. It doesn't break my heart. I have a couple of, several knives that are, ranging from $100 on up to, I can't bring myself to spending any more than $500 on a knife, but I do have some fairly expensive knives, and I'm always scared to death I'm going to break them. But here's the deal. What are you using your knife for, right? In a survival situation, in a bug out situation, is completely different. See, I think a lot of people get confused. They think that if we're bugging out, we're going to be bushcrafting, which, isn't really the most accurate thing, right? If you're bugging out, you're worried about making miles, man. We're not setting up camp. We're not doing any of that stuff. We're doing what we have to do, for number one, to get our camera straight. We're doing what we have to do to get out of there, to get to a place that's a more friendly environment. We're not setting up camp or doing any of that stuff. We're just making miles. So anything that you're going to really use your knife for is probably going to be somewhat limited to, cutting string. Man, I can't get y'all straight for nothing. There we go. That's a little better. But cutting string, cutting paracord, opening a package of granola bars, energy bars, something like that. You know, so when we really get down to looking at what we actually need, you know, is there a chance that you're going to be building a fire, you know, and cutting down trees and need to process large wood? Well, maybe, I don't know. But a survival kit is entirely different than a bug out kit. A bug out kit, you're going to a known place at a known distance and a known path, as well as known alternate paths. You have supplies there and supplies to get you there. It is from point A over here to point B over here. It's not a survival mission. And if you're going around setting up all kinds of shelters and stuff like that, man, you're doing it wrong. You know, for one, you just set up the perfect opportunity to have yourself tracked by someone who wants to do you not quite so friendly, you know. So think about that. Let me switch you around. Okay, y'all just kind of ignore my catch-all for junk here. But the point I'm wanting to get at is consider what you're actually going to be using the knife for, you know. And do you really need the ultra cool survival one that, you know, the coolest influencer on YouTube is talking about right now? Because what are you going to use it for? I mean, are we talking about processing wood? Which one of these would be best at that? Well, you just screwed up your whole planning. If I want to process wood, why not use the right tool? And let's be honest, this isn't really the right tool either, is it? You know, a folding saw. Because you can split wood with a folding saw. If you don't know how, well, it's pretty simple, you know, cut about halfway through and then slam it against another tree and pop, a slab pops right off, you know. But, you know, just this right here is actually probably the one you're going to use, you know. And I'm going to insult everybody a little bit more even. What if, bear with me, what if this guy right here? Now, am I saying ditch your cool knives and just carry one of these? No, but what I am saying is there's so many things for you to get wrapped around the axle about with something just as silly as a knife. All of these knives are absolutely adequate. All of them are. You know, it's not a fighting knife. It's not a bushcraft knife. It's not a survival knife. It's just a knife that we're going to use to get done the things that we need to do. And that's going to be cutting a piece of strap or, you know, cutting string, paracord, tape, opening a package, you know, that sort of thing. We might need to use it possibly in some, you know, to cut something to, you know, for some field expedient first aid type thing. And I'm not saying you don't need to be adequately prepared, because, you know, that's what this whole thing is. It's about being prepared. But you need to spend a whole lot less time worrying about picking the perfect survival knife and spend that time and energy worrying more about how do we not have to bug out? Because then we become like a voluntary refugee, which sucks, right? I'm not trying to be a voluntary refugee, voluntary, involuntary, whatever. I'm not trying to be a refugee. And if we can do everything we can to stop from having to get to that point, yes, we need to be prepared. I know, I get it, you know, but start putting some more thought into stuff like that. Start putting more thought into the stuff that you can do to make you not have to, you know, ditch, you know, your truck for the, the shoes on your feet, right? What I'm going to be using in a preparedness situation to cut wood to build a fire with is a damn chainsaw, because I'm not trying to bug out. And that's where your focus needs to be. If you have to bug out, something has gone pretty bad. Now, I've got a video on here about where I bugged out, and it wasn't anything at all like what YouTube tells you bugging out's going to be. No, I was sitting in this car right here with my wife. We swung by the house and we grabbed my pickup and we put what we needed in it, and we went to her parents' house and had a nice meal. Bugging out is probably going to be a whole lot, it's going to look a lot more like an unplanned vacation. One of the biggest bug out tools that we have in our plans is a hotel room, But yeah, anyway, your knife is important. I'm getting to where I'm rambling on a little bit. Your survival knife is important. You can still buy your survival knife. Go do it. I'm a knife snob too. I'm spending too much money on knives, and I always will, because I think they're cool. But just keep in mind that it's not near as big of a deal as what you might anticipate. Unless, you're gonna go boogieing through the woods, or you're in a situation, or gonna foresee yourself being in a situation, where you're gonna need to, look, there's some dove right there. It's dove season. Huh. I've got a shotgun right there. I should go get me some supper. Oh, rabbit hole. But anyway, yeah. Just a standard mora, man. That's what I use. And I really do like it. And I don't really have any reason to change it. I've never broken one, and I've treated them terrible because I don't care about them, So anyway, a little bit more rambling on than what I expected, but you guys be safe.